about this. You're playing in the stadium you coached in against the old team that you coached for. It just a lot of parallels for you in your career. What's it like to kind of have it all come to this point?
Honestly, so that's kind of got your full attention. So I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you.
How much have you looked back at that Tennessee game and the game plan, and what made it work in your eyes the most?
I think our players just really executed, did a great job. I thought Will played really well, within the confines of the offense and threw the ball very accurately. What he's done in almost every game we played this year. So I thought our running backs really contributed well. I thought the offensive line was really cohesive in that thing. And obviously our receivers made some big time plays. So I think it was every position was really contributed to that win over Tennessee.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors. Chip, in the first game against Oregon, you guys didn't get any first downs running the ball in the second half. What do you think went wrong there, and how do you fix that this time around?
You go through all that game and go through plays and what you were doing, and we got into a little bit more of a throw situation a couple times there. We had a backed up situation coming out, and moved the ball pretty well out of that, but then missed on a key third down, had a bad snap, and didn't handle it very well. And I think it was more of self-inflicted wounds on our side than those are things that I think are correctable when you start to look at the tape and kind of how you figure that out. So that's part of the process. You get to play a team twice. That's rare in college football that you get to play a team twice. So you've got a game against them, and they also have a game against you. So they're looking at the same exact thing. So, you look at that game, but there's also, I think that was the 6th game of the year. There was a lot of games since then. They've done some different things defensively since that game, up until the game against Penn State a couple weeks ago in their last game. So I don't know how similar the two games will end up playing out, to be honest with you.
How confident do you feel you guys were able to find something in the run game against Tennessee that can now translate over to this game?
Yeah, I think every game is different. So I think you don't look at, hey, we did this against Tennessee, so we'll do this against our next opponents. I think it's always the matchups and the individual matchups, our O-line versus their D-line, which I think is one of the best D-lines in the country. I think Harmon and Caldwell inside, having Birch back. Birch didn't play against us in the first game, so what impact will he have, as an edge player, because he's a really, really good football player. So, I don't think you look at the game you played the week before against a different opponent and say, hey, this matches where we go here. It's what do we got to do to beat a really good Oregon team.
Stephon Kreisnick, Cleveland.com.
What have you thought of the way Devin Brown has kind of stayed involved and just the way in general he's handled, the situation that he's in and remained at Ohio State throughout this run?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Dev's character. He loves it here. He loves his teammates. He loves being a Buckeye. And so I understand it. The quarterback position is kind of unique when it comes to football in terms of, kind of how you fit in and where they are, and everybody kind of picking different places to play. Where can I play if I go to this place? And those situations, but it tells you everything about Devin. He hasn't taken any visits. He's really focused 100% on Tennessee and now 100% on Oregon, and what can he do to help his teammates win this football game.
We feel he's kind of added to the room as a whole, throughout this season.
Oh, he's been great. I think because he's got the most experience in that room. Will got here in last January, so did Julian and Air. And then Lincoln had only been here a year, so Devin is kind of the older player in the room. And when we talk about things that they did a year ago or 2 years ago, he can kind of give his 2 cents on that, and he's done a great job leading that group.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Chip, obviously going into the Tennessee game, there was a lot of emotion, frustration. You guys talked about after the game, kind of using that Michigan loss. You go out on the field, there's Tennessee fans in the stands. How do you take a similar mentality into a game like this when maybe the outside noise isn't quite what it was for 3 weeks leading into that first round?
Yeah, I think our players are intrinsically motivated to be successful, and they have one goal, and that's to win the whole thing. And the only way you can win the whole thing is to win game 2. So, that's been their intention since the Tennessee game was over. It's been what do we got to do next? And I think it's all your attention's on. Obviously, they're the number 1 seed that you're playing. So. And they're the 1 seed for a reason. They're the only undefeated team in college football. So, that gets your attention right away. So you don't have to muster up any type of other motivation in terms of what did people say about us. So that'll motivate us even more. It's a really good football team. Turn on the tape, and they're going to challenge us. And our guys are really excited about that challenge.
And you mentioned maybe not focusing so much on that last game because of what's happened since then. Do you review that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we watch them all. So we've watched all 13 games they played this year. So it's not like we just watched the game we played against them and then watch anything else. I think you have to take a look at everything that they've done over the 13 games and go through it. But their lineup will be different. Like I said earlier, Birch didn't play against us the last time we played, but he has played since then. He's a really, really good football player. So there's some changes that they've made since then. I think each team is different from when the last time we played each other. You know, there's been a growth on both sides from both teams. So I think that's part of it. But you look at all 13 games they played this year.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
After you got here, do you remember the first time that Jeremiah Smith made you just say, like, wow?
He's done it a lot. I don't really remember the first time. I think it was during one of the workout sessions, you know, with Coach Mick and just watching them run and jump and do some different things. And you could just see his sheer athleticism, you know, for a guy that big, to be able to run and jump the way he can run and jump was, you know, really the kind of the first thing that caught my eye.
Do you remember the last time he surprised you?
What's that?
The last time he surprised you? Because it seems like.
Yeah, yesterday when he had his Grinch cleats on in practice, that kind of surprised me. But I liked it. It was a little Christmas flair. So,
Austin Moore, the podcast.
What did you guys think of the rotation on the guards last week?
I thought all three of those guys did a really nice job, and I think it's, you know, to develop depth late in the season like we have is critical. I thought Luke played really well, but I think when you can kind of keep some guys fresh, you know, most teams defensively, Tennessee being one, our team being one, Oregon being one, rotate defensive linemen. Very rarely are you rotating offensive linemen. So to have three really capable guys inside that can spell each other, I think helps keep them fresh a little bit. So, you know, I know Justin and Coach have talked about it. We'll continue to play all three of those guys, and I think it makes all three of those guys better players.
Yeah, you said it's not that common. We don't see it very often. Is that a difficult thing for a coaching staff to do and institute? Like, it just goes against like the notion that you want chemistry and cohesion and all the rest of that. Like, was it a difficult step for you guys to take that?
No, I think it's a credit to those guys, and I think they've all earned it. So I think that's the one thing about it. It's a meritocracy here. If you merit playing time, you get playing time, and all three of those guys have worked really hard at it. So, you know, we're the more depth you can have is better, and that's a positive. You know, as you're getting in here, as we talk about it, it's a 16, 17 game season to win the whole thing, and so your depth is going to be tested. Our depth obviously has been tested in the offensive line, losing Jimmy and losing Seth. So, but to have Luke step up the way he stepped up is a huge deal for us.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Jelani's a guy, obviously, every time somebody talks about his consistency, people talk about he's about consistency and the talents. He's playing better and better, so he's getting bigger and bigger role. He had a good block and touchdown. What have you seen from Jelani? It's just allowed him to grow on the field and kind of find that consistency and that trust within the offense.
Yeah, I'm a big Jelani fan. I think he's a tremendous football player. He works his tail off, and you can see him develop. He's just certainly gotten better each week this season, and it continues to develop. He's a big, tall, rangy target, but he's a physical football player, you know, and when you look at him, you see his length and you see his height, and you say, wow, you know, that's impressive. But then you watch his toughness. You know, I think on the one play, Will took off for a first down and fell forward, but when he hit the ground, the ball popped out. And then Tennessee picked it up, and he laid a hit on the Tennessee defender that picked the ball up. But there's an innate toughness to Jelani that any football person just kind of admires from him. So, you know, combining that athleticism with that toughness, it's a pretty good package.
Don Sperry, WBNS.
Coach, obviously these are kind of uncharted waters. You guys knew going in that depth would be important, but this will be your 14th game.
Mm-hmm.
From a fatigue standpoint and whatever, because they've never played this many games before. How are you guys handling all that?
I think there's a little bit of a break. You know, there was a break between the last game of our season and then the first round of the playoffs. And then I don't know if it's 10 or 12 days between round one and round two here in the quarterfinals. And then I think it's not a week-to-week thing, you know, similar to like it is in the NFL. There's a little bit of a break in there. So you just have to manage it the way you can manage it. But the other teams you're playing are going through the same exact thing. So it's not like one team's at a bigger advantage, you know. So I know Oregon had last week off, but they did play in a championship game, you know, the week before that. So they didn't have the week off after the end of the season. So it's just how it is, and it is going to be a battle of attrition when you get down to the end. You I know like Georgia's lost their quarterback in their championship game. So that's just part of what everybody has to deal with. Everybody's dealing with injuries and losing key guys at key positions, but it's about guys stepping up and running with it when they can. So, and there's no better model than Cardell Jones and what he did when the last time this team won a national championship is, he started off the season at 3, but then he was the quarterback that led them to the championship game. So we talk to our players about that a lot. And then it's when your time comes, are you ready when your time comes? And if it is, then let's go.
You want to get on a roll. Momentum is important. Do you feel the momentum coming out of that Tennessee game, and do you hope it continues now?
You do hope it continues, and I think our players are in a good mindset right now. I think we're still I know today, I think you said, Jerry, is Saturday, right, Jerry?
Yes.
It's Wednesday in our world, so that's kind of how we approach it. So, we had a good Monday and a good Tuesday, so now it's really just having a good Wednesday and concentrating fully on what we can do today to get better for this game that's coming up in a couple days.
Kellyanne Stitz, WSYX.
It's been a few months and both teams have evolved, and you mentioned Oregon getting Birch back.
Mhm.
What have you noticed the differences in Oregon's defense since the last time you played them?
Yeah, I think some of the personnel has changed a little bit, and I think some of the players that did step up, when Birch went down, have really played well. Mateo's got 10.5 sacks and has been has been a force on the edge. And I think all of those guys have grown as a group, just like our guys have grown as a group. So, it'll be a different game than it was the last time, just because of the maturity in both teams.
And Will had a really good game against Oregon, but coming off arguably maybe his best game as a Buckeye. How have you seen him approach this week?
He's been the same. That's the one thing I love about Will is his consistency and his approach on a daily basis. Is every Monday is the same, the same preparation in terms of film study and what we talk about. What's Tuesday look like? What's Wednesday look like? What's Thursday look like? And his growth during the week. So I think it's that consistent approach that you really kind of admire from him. There's nothing looking forward. Make the proper corrections on a Sunday after a game, whether it's a win or a loss, and then move on to the next opponent. And that's the way I think he's approached it since the first game of the year.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
This is more on the rotation. With Austin, I guess his ability to be able to do that in the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Jackson sometimes talked about the difference between left brain, right brain.
Mm-hmm.
So just him being able to do that in the same game, and he grayed out as a champion in that game. Just can you evaluate his performance on both sides?
Yeah, and I think you make a great point. There's a big difference between playing on the right side and playing on the left side. And I don't know if people really truly realize that. It's a different deal. There's a big difference between being a guard and being a tackle. How you see things and what you see. You see different looks. You're facing different players. You're using different footwork. On the right side, the right hand's down and the right foot's back. On the left side, the left hand's down and the left hand's back. So that sounds easy, but to drill and to be a great offensive lineman, the technique and the repetitions are huge, and to have to be able to do it both ways within a game itself is a credit to Austin. And I think, that flexibility allows us to kind of move those 3 guys around, because somebody has to swing if you're going to do that. So I think he's done a really good job. And I think since the beginning of the year, he's always kind of been that guy that, started off a little bit early in the year on the right side. Then stepped in on the left side when Donnie was down for a while there. But then to be able to fill and go over to the other side is a really big deal.
And there was a way you guys were running the ball, obviously, a million different injuries on the offensive line. Just having the time between the last time you guys played and when you guys played on Saturday to maybe revamp whatever you guys need to revamp to fit it to what the guys are now. Could you do that during the season when you're playing week to week while also trying to mitigate all the losses you're having on the offensive line?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think a lot of times your game plan specific in the run game really is dictated by who your opponent is and how they play and how they deploy. What type of spacing do they use up front? And then what plays are better against that spacing? And then breaking down the individual play of the individual guys. Where is their strength? Is it the inside guys? Is it the outside guys? How do they handle certain plays? So there's certain plays that are better against different teams. So there's always adjustments that go on from a week-to-week basis from that standpoint.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Chip, since Will has come back at tight end, what is he giving you guys that maybe you guys were missing at the time, or that he missed?
Yeah, just having him back. We actually lost him in this game, and then to come back, I think he's a big, strong body. He can be a tight end, an inline tight end that can block defensive ends, block the C gap. gives you that matchup in there against, and we're going to need it this week because the ends we're facing are really, really good. But given a guy that can play in lineup as basically the sixth offensive lineman and can be able to compete like that, he's done a really nice job. And I think it just added more depth and given us another weapon to use on the offensive side.
You guys used the tight ends pretty well against Tennessee, and then I think Johnny had a big catch against Penn State. You guys used G against Oregon. Terrence Ferguson was pretty good against you guys. What is it about big games? You've been a play clock a long time that makes you guys get the tight end more involved. It seems like in a big game, offenses just target tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, the tight ends are usually deployed towards the middle of the field. It's a shorter throw for the quarterback. The tight ends are usually bigger targets. They have a bigger catch radius just because of the size of the tight ends and what they can do. Sometimes it becomes a matchup game with tight ends. How do they match up against the linebackers? If they're a little bit more athletic than the linebackers, then do you put a DB on them? But if you put a DB on them, maybe they're bigger than a DB. So that becomes kind of the game within a game when you're trying to control the middle of the field. It's like having a really good slot receiver, and we do, and a Mecca that can control the middle of the field. But they have a really good tight end, watching them on tape that does a great job of helping control the middle of the field. And he's really a safety valve for the quarterback, knowing that, hey, I got a big guy somewhere in the middle of the field. It's a shorter throw. They don't have to drive the ball to the sideline to get the ball to him, but you can take advantage of some of that spacing and use those guys. But I think it's the same thing, the teams that are really successful in the NFL, the Chiefs and people like that, and the Niners with Kittle, having that kind of security blanket in the middle of the field is a big deal for a quarterback.
Folks, this press conference is being zoomed and streamed around the world on the World Wide Web. We're going to go to a couple of those on Zoom right now. Question from Andreas Soto from the Los Angeles Times. Andreas?
Coach, you are returning to the stadium that you called home for the past 6 years. Does that add anything to this game for you, or is it just kind of business as usual?
Got to get more sunscreen looking at the weather report because we haven't seen the sun in a while out here in Columbus. But I think more the game itself and the Rose Bowl itself, is it's such an iconic place and such a special place to play. To be at that 2:00 kickoff on the West Coast on January 1st it's special. And so I'm excited to be an opportunity to coach in another Rose Bowl. I think that's going to be really special.
We're going to stick.
And how would you say you've grown over the past year?
Say that again.
How would you say you've grown over the past year, as a coach and as a person?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're a product of your environment, so to be able to be around this group, the players and obviously this coaching staff here has to make anybody better. So I think the fact that I got a chance to spend time with this group is a truly special time. And I had a great time when I was at UCLA. I had a great staff and an unbelievable group of players there too. So I think just really fortunate with everybody that I've got a chance to be around the last 7 years.
We're going to move on to Jordan Mendoza, USA Today.
Hey, Coach. You at one point almost had Dylan Gabriel as your quarterback at UCLA, so clearly that you have a connection with him. What was it about him that wanted you to have him as a quarterback, and what can you say about just the type of quarterback and person that he is?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at the success Dylan has had. You could see it when he was at Mililani in Hawaii in high school, and then watching what he did at Central Florida. Didn't surprise me the success he had at Oklahoma, nor the success he's had at Oregon. He's extremely accurate. I think he's really calm. There's a poise about him that I think is, kind of special for the quarterback position. Doesn't seem to get rattled too much. Really has a true understanding of what they want to get accomplished there. And is also really athletic, so that if you do take away some of his options from a throw standpoint, he can beat you with his legs. So I think he's the complete package and one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
We got time for one more on Zoom. Joe Reedy from the Associated Press.
Hey, Chip, just with working with this offense for the past year, when was the point where you felt like you were really comfortable with this group and everything was kind of operating how you wanted it?
That's always a work in progress. I think in some games you're like, that was, we were really productive and really efficient in terms of what we did. And then other games, you come out of the game and say, hey, we left some things out on the field or we didn't do what we thought we could do against this team. So that's part of the process. But I think we really approach it on a week-to-week basis. We don't kind of look at it and say, hey, I think we've arrived, because I think each week is totally different. So, there's been some games where I think we've been really, really happy with what we've done. There's been a few games where we know we got to be better. So, our job is to put those guys in position to make plays and then let them go play. So, we got a great group from that standpoint. That is a joy to coach because of how they approach every single day here. So, we're excited about the next opportunity that we get with these guys.
And then just what's it been like just, being an offensive coordinator after many years of being a head coach? Has it been like you thought it would go? Yeah, it's been a lot more football and a lot less overall meetings, I think, that a head coach has to do. But I think any head coach would share with you that part of it. It's sometimes, I think, as a head coach, you wear a lot of different hats, obviously as a coordinator and just coaching the quarterbacks, it's a little bit different. So it's been fun. It's been really enjoyed being back in the meeting room with players on a day-to-day basis. As a head coach, you bounce around to different meeting rooms, but as the coordinator, you're with the quarterbacks all the time. So I really have enjoyed that aspect of it.
Got time for a few more questions here. Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
Chip, we've seen teams kind of bracket Jeremiah at times. As a play caller, how does that maybe open things up for you in other areas of the field? And how does that, is that like an underappreciated part of his game that he's maybe having an impact even when he's not getting the ball?
Yeah, he obviously has an impact every time he's on the field. But I think it's really the quarterback being able to discern that. Are they bracketing him on this play and not bracketing him on that play, and understanding, do we go to option 2 or option 3? If maybe JJ was option 1 and they are doubling him, then hopefully that means someone else, is going to be open. So it's really Will being able to process that post snap from how teams are deploying him. But I think Will's done a nice job with that.
And having a quarterback like Will and going up against a quarterback like Dylan, this is obviously 2 real veteran quarterbacks. You've had young quarterbacks somewhat recently as well. Where does that show up the most? Is that during the week that you can just kind of zip through stuff because it's, I've seen it? Or does that show up more on game day? Where do you see the biggest impact from having veteran quarterback?
I think in both, and I think a lot of times with Will specifically this year, like he sits in on our game plan meetings with us and talk to him about, hey, we kind of like this in this situation. What do you feel like? Hey, he'll give, he doesn't always agree. He said, hey, I kind of like this. So, bounce ideas off of him because he's played a lot of football and has a lot of experience. So, that's enjoyable when you have an older quarterback. Sometimes when you have a younger guy, they don't have the wealth of experience to be able to share with, I kind of like this, because they haven't done it. They just lack the experience. They don't lack the talent. They just lack the experience. So having a veteran quarterback like that's played a lot of snaps, and there's things that will say, hey, we're looking to do this. So I did that. That was a 2-point play for us a couple years ago. So I kind of like that operation. So, having that experience, I think is huge when it comes to quarterback spot. And I'm sure Dan will tell you the same thing about having Dylan over there. I think he's got 60 some odd starts. So, that experience can't hurt you.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Chip, you coached a long time. You've seen great players coaching the NFL. Have you ever seen anyone as good, as young as Jeremiah?
As young? No, not that maturity level, that approach, those physical skills as a young player, as a freshman. I've not seen anybody like Jeremiah, no.
And now you guys wrote him last game. You're undoubtedly going to do it throughout the playoff. What makes you so confident and built for that?
I think the one thing about Jeremiah is just his consistency to practice itself. He practices every day. Very rarely has he missed anything. I think his durability over the course of time, we've played 14 games now or 13 games now, and he's been there every day. Some other guys have had an ankle, had a knee, had something that would keep them out, not for the entire game, but during the course of a week, maybe miss a Tuesday, miss a Wednesday. The one thing about JJ is he's out there every day. And I think he really enjoys practicing. He really enjoys playing. I think the kid loves football, which is awesome to see. So, I think he's built for it, and you look at him physically, I think he can handle the workload.
Even after Northwestern, when his ankle got twisted, he didn't miss any practice after that?
No. I think, everybody was concerned after that, but when because we're off, we run around on Sundays, but we're off on Mondays. When we got back to Tuesday, he was back out there running around.
And we'll close things out with Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Chip, I think the Tennessee game was the most maybe you guys had moved Jeremiah around. It was his highest percentage of snaps, I believe, on the season. I know a lot of what you guys do is opponent specific, but how much of moving him around was, dictated by just how teams have defended him, and what does it afford you, I guess, when you can not always have him in the same spot every time?
I think we did it early. We did a little bit against Nebraska, had him inside and did some different things. He caught a post right down the middle against Nebraska in some of those situations. So again, most of it's game plan specific in terms of how our defenses that we're facing trying to defend us and what puts us in a situation to make plays. So that'll really depend on who you're playing and how they kind of approach it more than, hey, this week let's just try this. We're not there's not anything we're just trying. It's all based upon our evaluation of however many games they played and how they deploy their defense and their spacing to how we're going to deploy our offense and try to space them out.
And his, Jeremiah is such a physical presence, and I know he's really wowed a lot of people with some of the one-handed catches he's made. But when you guys have gotten him the ball kind of in space, his ability after the catch really stands out, and to the point where maybe it's perhaps underrated. How would you evaluate his ability?
I don't think anything about JJ's underrated.
He was not the freshman of the year. He wasn't the freshman of the year.
He wasn't?
No.
They have that?
Yeah. He didn't win.
He didn't win it?
No.
Who won it?
Colin Simmons down at Texas.
Is he? Oh, the linebacker?
Yeah.
He's a good player.
But
I didn't have a vote. Kid's a good player, though. I'm telling you, the kid from Texas is a good football player.
But JJ after the catch, is that, I guess maybe the better ask, is that something you want to try to unlock a little bit more as you move forward here in the postseason, just, letting him use his speed to run away?
Yeah, I mean, JJ, I think he ran a reverse against Michigan State for a touchdown. He caught a short pass against Western Michigan. He just ran away from everybody. I think obviously he's not just throw the ball up and have him go get it. He can do a lot of different things, and that's what makes him a complete football player. So, he can take short passes and turn them into runs after catches and can make some damage that way, but he can also beat you over the top. I think the one thing that may be underrated is I think he's a really good blocker. And I think he's done a really good job on perimeter runs in terms of being able to lock up DBs and get his hands on him because he is such a big guy. But he takes a lot of pride in that too. That's the one thing that's always so good about JJ is that there's nothing that he's not willing to do to help us win. So if it may be a key block in a certain situation, or it may be catching a short pass and running with it, or it may be, catching the ball over the top, those highlight type catches that he's made, it's that he's the complete package. So, we're fortunate to have him.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Cleveland.com.
I guess the question,
What did you think of the way you played against Tennessee overall, but then also having that level of a workload as a true freshman in a game like that? What do you think of the trust that they had in you?
I feel like I played a great game. I mean, just started with the weeks we had off in practice. I mean, just telling Coach Hartline I want to be challenged these weeks that we've been off. And I went up to him before we had the senior tackle. I put him aside. I was like, Coach, I want you to challenge me this week. Like I told him that, and you could ask him himself. Like I want to be challenged. That's what I want, and he did that last week, and that's why I had the game that I had. And yeah, that's all I can say. I mean, wait, can you say it again? I'm sorry.
What did he say? What was the actual challenge he gave you?
He just pushing me in practice, pushing me to the limit that I want to be pushed. I mean, that's how you become great. You see guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, that they want to be pushed. So I'm trying to be like them, but in football. So I mean, yeah.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
I'm just guessing, but was the fact that you weren't used all that much in the Michigan game the impetus for that? Was that the reason you said, "Hey, ride me in the playoff"?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, you can see what Team Up North was doing. Bracketing me in the Mecca. I mean, just I know second half and then go as planned as everybody wanted to go, but we got to lead out behind and just focus on what's in front of us, and that's beating Oregon.
Over here to Dom Taveri, WBNS.
What's the feeling with the offense right now? Do you guys feel like you're ready to get on a roll?
Oh yeah, for sure. We hungry right now. I can see it in everybody's eyes. Everybody in the offensive line, quarterback, Will Howard, receiver room. We definitely hungry for sure. Ready to go out there and Pasadena and just put on the show.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Hypothetically, what would annoy you more? Being interfered with and not getting the call, or not being able to make the catch anyway?
I say be able not to make the catch anyway. I feel like every ball that's thrown to me, I have to catch it no matter if the defender on me or not. I just feel like I have to make a play no matter what. I mean, I played Saturday. I feel like I could have caught it, but it was a pass interference, but it touched my hands. I should have caught it.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jeremiah, there's a lot of discourse from fans this week about you not winning the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award. Just what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, Colin is a great player as well. I mean, I can't really knock him. Sean is a great guy. I talked to him 2 weeks ago. He's a great guy. Learned a lot of things from him outside of football as well. So, I mean, I really can't focus on that. I'm just worried about beating Oregon and, just going out there to Pasadena and just putting on the show.
Anybody else with questions? Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
You mentioned getting bracketed by Michigan. Is that frustrating? And we've seen that from the lot of teams.
Yeah.
Is that frustrating? Is that, it feels like you always think you're open. Are you still open when you're bracketed?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm still open no matter if I'm bracketed or not. I mean, they just came out with a good game plan to bracket me in a Mecca. And, just, things didn't go as planned as we thought it would, but we just got to keep moving on and just move forward, as I can say.
Stephen Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Jeremiah, the 2 touchdown plays that you had with Will Howard, how many times do you think you guys rep that to get, those were perfect throws, perfect patterns, and you beat your guy off the line of scrimmage. Just how many times do you think, and what does it take to perfect that?
I think we repped that at least, I don't know how many times in practice over the weeks that we had off. It just came down to, if they press me, we taking a shot. That's what they told me the weeks we was off. And he told me before the game in the locker room, I just got to give you a shot. And that's what he did, and I just made a play.
If I can ask, the first game against Oregon, just how tough was that challenge against their secondary? I know you have the penalty at the end of the game, but you guys made plays all day long against them. Just what's your thought about the challenge those guys gave you?
I'll say the challenge is going to be, a good challenge. They have some great group of guys there. Jabbar Muhammad, number 7, Nico Reed, the other corner, number 9 over there. They a great group of guys. Probably the best we go see all year for sure. We just got to go out there and, be Ohio State. That's all.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Jeremiah, so when are you not open?
Probably when the whole team on me, I should say. I'm always open to me for sure. Just throw the ball in my area. I'm gonna find a way to make a play. That's all I can say.
Stefan Kreisnick, Cleveland.com.
You talked earlier about some of the great athletes that got challenged and you aspire to be like. I guess where does that confidence kind of come from for you? How long have you had that confidence that you have the ability to be one of the greats in this sport?
I mean, a lot of people tell me that I'm gonna be great at what I do. Since I was about going into high school, a lot of people tell me that. Just football is all I know, and that's all I really want to do. Like I live, breathe, sleep football. Like that's all I really care about. I don't care about everything outside of football. Like football is all I know, and I just want to play football the rest of my life.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
It seemed like you and Will were trying to connect on some of those deep balls throughout the year. You'll be able to finally do those in that momentum to kind of carry that forward. What does that say about the way that you guys have been able to continue to progress in your chemistry?
Just the weeks that we had off, we were just working on deep shots. Coach they'll tell us in meetings that we have, we got to take shots downfield. We just got to connect on them. And Will tell me before the game Saturday, like I said, you just got to throw the ball out there and just give me a chance, and I'm gonna make a play for you. That's what he told me, and I just got to make a play for him. That's all.
Adam King, WBNS.
We can all joke, we can all talk about the expectations and the stardom that has become, you in just 13 games. How do you handle that? I mean, you're just a freshman. How do you take all these expectations, know when you step on the field that you're always open and still go out there and play?
Expectations. I came to Ohio State for a reason. That's what I wanted. Want to be challenged. I wanted expectations, I should say. Coach Hartline just helped me throughout the whole year, just preparing me for each game, each week. Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate, Brendan Ennis, really the whole receiver room just helped me stuff I don't really know about. It just helped me throughout the whole week. And, I can't really say it's all on me because my talents, but they really been a big part of the reason I'm having the season that I'm having for sure.
Andrew Gillis, Cleveland.com.
Jeremiah, over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns in your first year. When you look back at your freshman year, what was the most difficult part about adjusting to the college game? What was the part that you had the hardest part about trying to transition?
Learning that playbook. Playbook is something else. Just coming in, spring ball, just new plays in every week. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Like, this new plays every day. And Coach Hartline, like, you gonna be good. We got summer, fall camp. You gonna be straight. So that's definitely was the hardest part, just learning the playbook and a lot of other things, I should say, for sure.
How long did it take you to kind of get that down pat? How long did it take you to feel comfortable in the playbook?
I'm pretty sure I got it down pat right now, but next season I really want to learn everything, the H, Z. I really want to learn everything in the playbook for next year, for sure.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
You mentioned how many guys it might take for you to not feel open. So when you are one-on-one, and Will's talked about when he sees you being one-on-one, what is going through your mind as you line up and realize there's one guy covering you?
Win. That's all I could say. That's what Coach Hartline, we do something like in a hotel Friday night before the game. He asked me like a question like, you get one-on-one, something like that. He asked me, what do you do? I say win. And everybody just started laughing. I don't know. I'd be like, this is true. Like, you got to win your one-on-one battle. So, yeah.
Over here to the right, Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Jeremiah, they moved you around some against Tennessee to the point where you had a couple matchups against linebackers.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you find yourself matched up against a linebacker?
I just started laughing in my head a little bit. Linebackers can't really cover receivers like that, so I just know I'm most likely gonna be open. But they just try to move me around a lot because people try to bracket me when I'm outside just alone by myself. So that's why they're moving me around a lot, I should say.
Far left, Jayla Van Horn, the Lantern.
Jeremiah, you mentioned the most difficult part of your freshman campaign has been learning the playbook. What has been the best part so far?
The best part? Just being in a room with a great group of receivers. Just going out there competing each and every day, learning from the best. Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate, learning from them guys. I should say that's been the best part, learning from Coach Hartline. Just gaining more knowledge that I could use over the next 2 to 3 years that I'm here, I should say. So, yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up with a question from our Zoom call. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jeremiah, how much have you thought about the way the Oregon game ended for you in October with the pass interference call? Has that been on your mind at all as you kind of get ready for this game? And what are your memories of that call and your feeling about that?
Yeah, I think about that call probably every day. I mean, just, it was a crazy call. The DB was holding me. I just cleared his hands. I guess receivers can't be physical in football anymore, but DBs could hold 10 yards, 15 yards down the field. So, I mean, it's behind me. I just know how, to move here on out. When the DB is grabbing me, I just know how to move now. Can't be physical as a receiver in college football anymore. But we'll just see how things play out this game.
Jeremiah, thank you very much.
Thank you. No problem.
Delaware Gazette.
Will, obviously you talked about growing up in Pennsylvania and growing up into country. Have you had a chance to reflect on the fact that you're going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State in the Rose Bowl? Has that dawned on you yet, or are you just kind of focused on?
Yeah, it is cool to think about. But kind of where I'm at, like this is where we expected to be, and this is coming here to Ohio State. I expected to be in this position, and this is when it really starts. This is crunch time here. I obviously, yes, it's surreal. And, I have to appreciate, every opportunity that I get here. And I'm just blessed to be in this position that I am. But, we expected to be here and we're excited. It's an unbelievable opportunity we have in front of us. And for me being like you said, a kid who watched the Big Ten, watched the Rose Bowl every year. And I remember my band from my high school going out to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and that was like a big deal. And it's something I always dreamed of, playing in this game. So it's a pretty unbelievable experience. God has blessed me in a multitude of ways, and I'm just very thankful.
Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Well, you've had a lot of good games in your career, but is the Tennessee game perhaps the best performance you've had personally when you look at the stakes of the game and how well you played and they're the number 8 defense in the country? When you add it all up, is that maybe the best you played in your career?
I think I played well enough for us to get the win, and that's all that matters. And at this time of the year, you got to be playing your best ball. And I felt like I was making pretty good decisions with the football. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but I felt pretty good about my performance. But I think we're going to need more down the stretch. So can't be satisfied.
Don Taveri, WBNS.
Well, what's the mood of the club? I mean, you guys had hoped for this shot to get another crack at these guys. Now it's happening on such a huge stage, and the stakes are so big. What's the mood of the club right now, getting another shot at these guys?
Excited, man. Excited and ready. I said, the moment we were walking off that field, we're going to see these guys again, whether it was, in the Big Ten or here. And here we are, man. We knew we were going to get another crack at these guys. It's hard to beat a team twice, and we're hungry. We're ready for this opportunity. I'm just so fired up that, God blessed us with a second chance at this thing. Because in life, you don't get a lot of second chances. So, it's a blessing, and we just got to not let it pass us by.
Adam King, WBNS.
Talk about second chances. I'm sure you've thought about that play over and over again with the 1 second left. how much do you put all that out of your mind? How much do you lean back on that game compared to knowing, this is a completely different team than you saw back then?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's like, how much do you focus on that, but not let it affect you? I still have nightmares about that play. I still run it over in my head. What could I have done better? And I get a chance to, go out there and right the wrong from that game. And you don't get second chances a lot in life. It just doesn't happen. So like I said, I'm thankful that we even get a chance to go out there and play these guys again. Really has nothing to do with me, man. It's about this team and the way that we lost that game. It still hurts. It still hurts all of us. So we're excited for another crack at these guys. We'll keep it in the back of our heads. It's a new game. We're both very different teams than we were back then. But that's definitely hasn't left my head.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Roll.
How much have you and G connected on chemistry on the field the last few weeks? It seems like you're starting to find him pretty regularly, and he's starting to make an impact as the season goes on.
Yeah, man, he's doing a heck of a job, and G's one of those guys that's just, he could go out there and have 0 catches and be perfectly fine. He's just one of those team guys. Really good player. I mean, unbelievable player. But sometimes he gets overshadowed by some of the other talent in the room. It's actually his birthday today. Shout out G, happy birthday. It's my guy though, man. Like we've gotten so close this year and just we've bonded on a lot of different things. He's been so good for me in my faith walk. Finding the Lord, and he's been a really, really great influence on me on and off the field this year, and definitely down the stretch here we've become pretty close, and I think it's showing in terms of chemistry on the field.
Matt Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Will, going into the Tennessee game, you guys obviously have heard stuff. You talked about it when we were in here, coming out of that Michigan game. You walk out, you see the Tennessee fans. There's just a lot of motivational factors. Obviously, you want to win this, you want to win a national championship, but how do you keep that same kind of edge mentally that you had in that Tennessee game to give that kind of offensive performance in this game?
Yeah, that's the challenge, man, is keeping that edge. And I think we play well when we have that underdog, kind of chip on our shoulder mentality. And that's what we came out with last game. And that's the challenge is, how do we not listen to any of the good stuff right now? Because, the same people that are patting us on the back were, beating us down 2 weeks ago. So you just got to remember that and remember to not eat any of the sugar and just, keep our heads down and keep grinding and keep having that same edge and that same mentality. And it really starts with how we practice, I think.
Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
When Jeremiah is bracketed, Chip talked about the fact that that's really you are the one who kind of takes advantage of that. That's not like a play calling thing, that's really you. So when you see, hey, they've got a couple guys over there, what does that do for what you see on the rest of the field and what your decision-making process is?
Yeah, anytime, a defense has to put 2 guys over 1, I mean, that it's either creating matchups elsewhere or giving you numbers in the box. Whatever it is, you gotta be able to work with it and see it. And I wouldn't be surprised if, people are going to start bracketing number 4. I'd probably do it too. But you can't forget about 17 and 2 and 88. And I mean, shoot, we got guys elsewhere. So it's, if you try to take one of them out of the equation, then, we got other dudes that are going to step in and make plays too. So, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you can double him and he'll still go and make some plays. So, that's all part of the chess game. And like I said, playing a team twice becomes even more of that, back and forth chess game. How are we going to scheme them up and vice versa. And, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to execution and finding the matchups where we can and taking advantage of what they give us.
David DeGuzman, WCMH.
Hey, well, you talked a lot about momentum in the playoffs. What kind of an advantage does that give for a team like yours against a team that hasn't played since the Big Ten championship?
Yeah, I can't speak for them because, they obviously have had a little more time off. But, in terms of us, I think playing that first game did give us a little bit of momentum and feeling good going into this next game. And, if I was coming off of 4 weeks of rest, I don't know, it'd be a little weird coming out here and playing the first game. But we said we wanted to get that first one and then get this ball rolling from there and keep this thing going. And I think I can't speak for them. I don't know, but we feel good, about where we're at.
Kevin Noon, Buckeye Huddle.
Yeah, Will, is Jeremiah always open? Because Jeremiah thinks Jeremiah is always open.
Yes, he is pretty much, they got to put like 3 or 4 guys over him for him to not be open. Yes, he's unbelievable, man. He makes some pretty crazy plays and can do some great things off the line of scrimmage. And then, when the ball's in the air, he goes and gets that thing. So, I mean, he's special.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Well, this isn't specific to the last play of the Oregon game, but when you're talking about a rematch and a second shot, how many times do you think you watched the duration of the first matchup as you're doing your film preparation? Maybe that was 2 weeks after the game as well with the off week, but also now time to prepare for Wednesday.
Yeah, more times than I can count, man. We got the game playing in the facility here, so nobody's forgot about it. I watched it quite a few times that bye week afterwards. How could I fix it? And then, at the same time, you want to flush it and get away from it. But now, that they're back, they're the squad we're playing. It's like, I have watched it and it hurts me because I'm like, man, like there were so many opportunities for us to win that game. And looking back at it, it's like, man, we just didn't play our best ball that day. And, it makes you excited, because, we got another chance at it. And like I said, you don't get a lot of second chances in life, and God's blessed us with one. And, so we got to make sure we take advantage of it. And it's a hell of a team, man. I mean, Oregon's a great team. They do some really good stuff, man. And it's not going to be easy. But we got to go in there and do our thing and take what they give us and impose our will, because that's the only way we can do it from here on out.
You said, they played 6 other games since then, so they probably changed. The personnel is going to be different. Birch back out there. What's the balance for you prepping where you can watch yourself against them or the other 6 games that they played since then? What's the right equation, breaking that down?
I don't know if I have that answer. When I'm watching film, I'm watching a bunch of different film, and our game is one of the games they played, so I'm going to be watching that a bunch, and then also watching the other games they played, because they have changed a little bit, and we've changed a little bit, and nobody's just going to stay the same every year, every week. You're upgrading. You're trying to become a new version of your team. So we got to evaluate where we're at, where they're at, and see what the best method of trying to figure that out is.
We got time for a couple calls from the worldwide web, from the Zoom cast. We'll go to Oregon writer James Crapia. James?
Well, you were certainly quite effective passing against them. What does make their corners effective, though? They're both 5'10". That's relatively small compared to your receivers. What makes them pretty effective at corner?
I think they're very athletic, and they're not as physical as some of the other corners we played against. They're not trying to like put their hands on you at the line, but they're very good shadow guys, and they stay with guys, and they stay over top of dudes, and they don't like to get beat over the top, and I don't think they get beat very often. Obviously they're going against their playmakers every day, which they got some fast dudes over there. I think they're both great players. I think Sevens, I played against him when he was at Oklahoma State. I think he's a good player. He's solid. They're both solid players, but I think we got an advantage physically a little bit that we need to take advantage of, and make sure that we don't let them just stick all over us. And I'm not worried about that, but they got good players, and we're gonna have to show up and win our one-on-ones.
Let's go to Cameron Teague Robinson from The Athletic.
Hey, Will, I think it was a little earlier in the presser you said that obviously you guys have changed. You guys are a different team. But for you, how are you different since that Oregon game?
Yeah, I think, you try to evolve every week, and you try to learn from the good things and from the bad things. And, I don't know if I could say, one thing about, where I've gotten better at, what I've gotten better at, maybe, my completions, just trying to take what the defense gives me, trying to get smarter with that, with my decision-making as the year's gone on, and just getting more comfortable in the system, I think is another part of it. I don't think there's one thing I can necessarily put my finger on, but, just trying to learn from the good and from the bad, and evolving every single week.
And we have one more Zoom call. Joe Reedy, Associated Press.
Well, what's it been like having Chip Kelly as your offensive coordinator, and just how has the relationship developed and maybe improved during the year?
It's been really good, man. He's a super bright guy, run game, pass game. I mean, he's coached, some of the best players that I've, grew up watching. And, I think just getting to work with him and just getting to be on the same page with him about a lot of things. The more that this year has gone on, we've kind of just, I feel like we're in sync right now pretty damn well. And, we both kind of see things the same way sometimes, but then we're able to, have that healthy discussion of, what do you like here? What do you not like here? I think our relationship has just gotten better and better as the year has gone on. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with him and working with him. And I think, we've had a good time with it, and we want to finish this thing the right way.
Is there a quarterback that he coached that, you liked or took after?
I wouldn't say necessarily one of them, but, I did grow up, when I was an Eagles fan and he was the coach of the Eagles. So, I've seen him watch, he's brought up clips in the quarterback room of, some of the Eagles stuff. So that was pretty cool. I wouldn't say there's one quarterback I'd emulate my game after necessarily, but, it was cool kind of the first time when I was like, oh, damn, he, coached the Eagles back in the day. That's pretty cool.
Got time for just a couple more questions. Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Maybe I'm making too much of this, but I think on Jeremiah's second touchdown, I think before the snap, you looked over there a couple of times. I don't know. Can you just walk us through what you were seeing? And did that play just ultimately turn into, oh my God, he's one-on-one covered with one safety and throwing it up?
Yeah. So on that play, I'm looking at where the safety is. And if the safety gets over top of him, I'm not going to throw it to him. If he's not over top of him, I'm going to throw it to him. And he didn't get over top of him. So I was just making sure that they were crazy enough to leave him one-on-one, and they were. So.
And final question, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Kind of along those lines. When you see him in man coverage one-on-one, is it almost like automatic? I'm throwing to him. It's an easy position.
If we got it called, yeah. Yes, pretty much. There's quite a few routes where, if it's an X isolation or a one-on-one concept, and if we have one-on-one with him, or really, you leave any of our receivers one-on-one and it's pretty hard to guard.
Emeka's a very talented receiver, Carnell and Brandon, but Jeremiah just seems like on a different level than anybody, especially as a freshman. Do you guys have that appreciation? Like, oh man, this guy is special when he's a freshman.
Yeah, I think you forget about it a lot. When you're around it every single day, you kind of forget that the kid's was in high school a year ago. He just doesn't. You just around him, you don't feel like he's a high school kid. You don't feel like he's an 18-year-old, 19-year-old. Like he's just mature beyond his years, and yeah, he's special, man. He's different. I've never seen a kid his age. I've really never seen anyone be able to do some of the stuff that he's able to do. So, I've only been here for 12 months or whatever, but yeah, he can do some pretty unbelievable stuff.
Will, thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
Getting another crack at these guys.
Yeah, we're super excited. I think that I played in the Rose Bowl my freshman year. It's an amazing venue. It's so beautiful. They do a great job hosting for the players, the coaches, the families. So it really doesn't get much better than this. And having a chance to, redeem ourselves from what happened earlier in the season is something we don't take lightly. So we're very thankful.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Mac, what if I told you that Jeremiah Smith wasn't the freshman of the year nationally?
I did hear that. Yeah, that's a little. I don't even know who won it. Who won it?
Colin Simmons from Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's we know what we got here on our side. We're not too worried about awards and stuff like that. So I know JJ, the type of kid he is, that's only going to motivate him more. So it's fuel to the fire, which I think is good for us heading into this week.
When he got here, what was the first moment that you saw him and thought, well, this could be something?
I would say probably just his mindset. Not even obviously he's a freak when it comes to his body and stuff like that, just his physical nature. But I think just his mindset, the way he approached the weight room, it didn't really seem like a way a freshman would. And he was our only freshman ever to receive, a Iron Buckeye reward, which, is something I was pushing towards my entire time being here. But, it takes another level of dude to be able to receive that reward, especially as a freshman. So, that's kind of when I knew.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
More on that. When you and Marv first got here, Garrett and Chris were adamant about the way that you guys, even as freshmen, were pushing two guys who were about to be first-round draft picks. And then Marv kind of said the same thing about Carnell and Brandon last year. How did JJ push you guys when he first got here as the young guy, and now you guys are the older guys?
Yeah, I would say it's very similar. It's kind of the same exact thing. And I don't know what it is about the culture in Zone 6, but we keep bringing in these type of people year in and year out. That's what makes our room so great. But I think that something that JJ was able to push me in was just, he was able to push me in my leadership. I needed to grow in that aspect, but he also was able to challenge me when it came to the weight room and on the field, because we were always paired together when it came to summer and winter workouts. We were always lifting together. I get a couple wins, he get a couple wins. So it was really that next level step of competitiveness that I needed and that edge that I needed.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Mecca, you guys came into the Tennessee game with a lot of outside motivation with Michigan loss and kind of the 3 weeks of talk. I know obviously there's still that motivation to go on and win a national championship, but how do you keep that kind of edge, for lack of a better term, mentally after some of that stuff has kind of gone away following the big win?
I would say kind of if you lose your edge, I wouldn't really call you a true competitor. I think that the way with the college football playoffs is structured, the intensity cranks up every single week. So if you're not more intense than you were the last week, then something's wrong with you. I think that, Tennessee was a great win, great for our momentum, but we have our full focus on Oregon, not worrying about anything in the past, nothing in the future. Our full focus is towards this game. And then, we win this one, we go on to the next one. Our full focus is going to be on that one. So it's just you keep moving down the ladder like this.
Stefan Kreisnig, Cleveland.com.
Micah, there's been a lot of changes in college football in the playoff and things of that nature, but the way you and some of your teammates and coaches talk about the Rose Bowl seems like that's one game that's really maintained a lot of that tradition. You played in it, you know what it's about. Could you explain it to us who never had a chance to play in it, why the Rose Bowl has maintained that level of respect from players and coaches?
Yeah, I think I don't know. There's just something about it, something in the air down there in Pasadena. It's just a beautiful venue, especially that time of the year. Like you said, the tradition is held year in and year out. And it's kind of the game you dream of playing in when you're a little kid, playing backyard football with your friends. The Rose Bowl is always one that tends to come up. So just having a chance to play in it is definitely very surreal. And this is going to be my second time. So I'm going to do my best to take it all in while also being fully focused on Oregon.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Mackley Will said he still has nightmares about that first game at Oregon. Just what kind of drive are you seeing from him this week, wanting to get back into this one?
Yeah, Will is he's a laser focused person. He goes about his business. He's very loose and he's very calm and he's able to rally the team. But you can see it in his eyes that this game means everything to him. So every single practice, every single huddle, making sure we're sharp, making sure we have a better practice than we had last than yesterday, a better practice than Oregon is having. So his full focus is on beating this team, and obviously it's hard not to think about the stuff of the past, but I know he's laser focused on what we got coming up.
Tony Gertman, Buckeye Huddle.
Mecca, when you were a kid playing in the backyard, dreaming about the game, what team were you playing for?
Honestly, I was never really a Buckeye fan until I really committed here and I saw what it was all about. I was actually an Oregon fan growing up, especially on the Pacific Northwest. My grandpa went to UW and stuff like that, so I like the Huskies too. But there was a legendary football player named Fotu Liatu from my high school, and he went to Oregon. And a couple of y'all probably know that story from a couple of years back, but he tragically died in a car accident. And he was someone I looked up to in high school. I was relatively close with him, even though he was a bit older than me in age. But just seeing what he did at my high school and then going on to play big time football at Oregon, that was a school that I really dreamed of going to.
Let's see, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
I hate to ask you another Jeremiah question, but I've got to ask you. Is there one moment, one play, one something that made you just go, oh man, I've never seen that before. That's just incredible.
Yeah, I would say it's happened multiple times. There's not really one I can pinpoint, but the more he does it, the more I tend to react less. So I would say probably my earliest memories of it were in spring ball, kind of getting the first glimpse of him when he's making all these ridiculous catches. And he still does it time and time again, even now, but it's just more common now for me.
Bill Landis, Columbus Kings of the North.
Becca, you had, I think it was 12 touches in the first game against Oregon, 10 receptions, 2 carries. Is there something about this matchup that favors you? And now that you were that productive the first time you played this team, what kind of attention or I guess maybe different defenses are you expecting to see?
Yeah, I mean, we're not entirely sure what their game plan is going to be, but we're prepared for everything. I'm not going to get too much into scheme and stuff like that, but we know that if the ball comes our way, we got to make those plays. So whether I have 10 receptions again coming up this game or I have 0 or 1, we're just looking to get this win on the road because it's really a road game for us, flying across 2 time zones. So I think that, it's going to be a great matchup. Whether they tend to focus on me more or not, it doesn't really matter to me because I know our team has a great plan regardless.
Got time for a couple more questions. Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Are you guys ever surprised when the game ends and you look at the stat sheet and Carnell's only got 1 or 2 catches?
You can kind of feel it throughout the game, I would say. He's a true competitor. He wants to get involved, but at the same time, he's super selfless. And he's really humble. So he's going to do whatever it takes for the team to get a win. But it's the competitive nature in him that wants to, contribute as much as he can. So, I try to be in his ear to tell him to be level-headed and stuff like that. Not that I need to. He's a very level-headed and selfless guy, like I'm saying. But, sometimes that's just how the game goes. I had a game this year where I only had 1 catch, but we ended up winning by a lot. So I think that it's hard or it's easy to be focused on the personal attributes that you can have game in and game out, but no one's really going to remember those if we're holding up the trophy at the end of the year.
It seems like he could be a number 1 on I think like 95% of college football rosters right now, but he's like the number 3. When you see his work ethic, all of those things, and he goes up there and makes a play. Are you guys ever reminded, this guy could absolutely be a number 1 on most college football rosters?
I would disagree with you. I think that he is a number 1. I think that we don't have a number 3 receiver. I think we have 3 number 1 receivers out there. So whatever the defense, if they want to put their attention on one guy or a couple of us, they're not really doing themselves any favor because we're going to have a favorable matchup on the other side of the ball. So that's never how we view ourselves. We know we're alpha dogs out there. Every single one of us knows we have the capabilities to be a number 1 receiver, and we are number 1 receivers.
And final question, Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Mecca, at the end of that game, you made one of the clutch plays that passed down the sideline. At any time when you make that play, are you thinking, did you ever in your mind think we're going to win this game after we're now close to field goal range? I mean, did that play in your mind say, my goodness, we've got a chance to get out of here with the win?
Yeah, I definitely knew where I caught the ball, and I knew we were, close to being in field goal range. So, there was a sense of, I knew it was a big play that I made, but in those moments, you have to finish out the game no matter what. You can't get a big head. You can't get complacent. You have to finish the game until the clock hits 0. So that's something we've been working on. We work on 2-minute every single Wednesday practice. So today we'll work on our 2-minute, and we don't even call it 2-minute. We call it clutch because in those games, in those big moments, someone has to make a clutch play. So we're focusing on that every single game, knowing that we're going to have to make one of those plays coming down the stretch here.
What would it mean if you're able to finish this one off and get to the Final Four of this playoff? Just what, in your mind, would this be, just the ultimate, I suppose, to beat a team that's already beaten you earlier this year?
No, I think the ultimate would be winning the national championship. So, we're focused on this. This just happens to be the next team in the way. We're not focused on whether we played them earlier this year, whether they got the win over us. They're just a nameless, faceless opponent. So we're going out there fully prepared, not worried about what's happening in the past. We've played them before. We felt them out. So it's all about who got better from that point in time until now.
Emeka, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Quinshon, what do you feel like you guys were able to find in the run game against Tennessee that maybe wasn't working in the previous couple games?
I think schematically, our coaches did such a great job at getting all the playmakers the ball in space and just trying to find different ways for us to score.
What stood out to you about this Oregon defense and the challenges they present?
I think when you look at the past game that we played against them and you rewatch the film over the last couple of games, you go back and you look and you see, how did they improve as a whole, as a defense, and what did they really change about their defense? And it kind of looks similar to the first time we played them. So we just got to execute.
Andy Anders, Lebanon Warriors.
Last 3 games, and I know, running game is a very team thing, and you guys have made some strides going into this Tennessee game, but last 3 games haven't been necessarily the most efficient you've had. What are you seeing on the field, and maybe do you feel ready to pop off a bigger performance in this game?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, as a whole, everybody on the offense can contribute. And, we have a lot of great playmakers on our team, and our coaches will definitely find ways to get us all the ball and get in the best position to score.
Stefan Kreisnick, Cleveland.com.
I know you grew up in SEC country. Did you have any interest? Did you think you'd make it to the Rose Bowl one day and want to play in the Rose Bowl one day?
I would say, yeah, definitely. As a competitor, that's something that you compete for, too, especially as a team player, to be at the top level, to go to the playoffs and be in this position. So I wouldn't say I would have guessed I would be here in this position now, but definitely wanted to be in this spot.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Will had the moment at the end of the game that he thinks about. Jeremiah, same thing. You had the play early in the game with a fumble. I mean, it's a great play by the defensive player. How much do you think about that? How do you think about that play when you replay it in your mind?
That's past us now. That game is past us. We're looking forward to how we can come out this week coming up and win this game. And that's all that really matters, as a whole, as a team. Everybody has that same mindset, that same grit, and that same passion. So that's all that matters.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
You guys had some pretty clear motivational factors coming out of Michigan, going into Tennessee with 3 weeks of a lot of talk. How do you keep that same kind of mental edge now going into this game, where maybe there's more people talking positively about you, things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say everyone just keep the same mindset that we had going into where we are now. We all have a big goal in mind, and we know what that goal is. So whatever it takes to stay focused, that's what we're going to do.
Austin Ward, podcast.
Which, on the way that you and Trey bounced out the workload last week, was that sort of the perfect embodiment of what you guys envisioned a year ago as you started looking at this opportunity?
Definitely. I would say, our coaches do such a great job at that, at just getting him in there in different positions on the field. And just Trey being the type of player he is, whoever is on the field, we're both going to do our job. So I look forward to it.
Tony Gergman, Buckeye Huddle.
John, I know you've got games to focus on. Have you thought about what's going to happen for you next year, where you're going to be?
No, as of right now, I'm just looking forward to this next game and trying to win it all.
Anything else for Quinshon? Kevin Noon, Buckeye Huddle.
I know it's looking back, but I didn't have a chance to ask you, what's going through your mind on the first drive where your first touchdown is with the exchange between you and Will where you pin the ball on your rear end? What is the thought there?
I actually thought he was going to pull the ball, and I kind of felt it, and I just got an instinct, so I just kind of grabbed it and just tried to do my best.
Anything else for Quinshon? Great, Quinshon, thank you
Cool.
very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Quinshon.